presentation today, actually.
Cool.
I've decided to let the salesman do the sales for a change.
Bill, you should be able to accept the invitation to come up on stage. Hey, Bill.
Oh, there we go. Man, that was loose and questionable.
All right, we're going to get started in just a couple minutes, Bill. In the meantime, we've got a Zoom link in the stage chat. Tag you guys there so you can see it. And if you want to do any screen sharing, you can screen share that link.
Yeah, hey, Rob, could you do me a solid and screen share in that Zoom link?
Why am I getting the sense that you're out walking around?
Because that's the best way I think, good buddy.
So where is this, Willie? Announcements?
Just tagged you in the stage chat. It's right at the top.
I see it. Yeah, it's right there.
Of our list of channels.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'll go ahead, hop into Zoom. And yeah, join without video, computer audio, mute myself, and screen share, baby.
Rob, your volume is a little light, so if there is any way to speak closer to the mic or anything, I think it would help.
Yeah, like, give me a sec.
He might not.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, that sounds better.
I'm about to hook myself up to a Blue Yeti, so it's going to sound even better. All right, can you guys hear me now?
Absolutely, that sounds good.
Oh yeah.
All right. How you guys doing today?
Oh, fantastic. It has been a really exciting few days. Slightly tired, but beyond that, I'm doing great.
Never a dull moment in crypto, right?
No, not in the least. We've had so many crazy, really just incredible conversations with people these past few days about what we're doing with Resonate, and it seems like all of crypto is signing on. Honestly, you name a protocol, there's a chance I've had a meeting with them, and it was probably in the past week or two.
Exciting times. Love to hear that you guys are staying busy during the bear market. And yeah, glad that you're coming back to chat with us about Revest. Cool to hear that you guys have had some success with some other cool protocols that are planning to be launch partners, and appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity. Looking forward to diving deep and basically figuring out exactly what it would look like if we were to proceed with Revest and hear about all the updates since we last chatted.
Yeah, I think that's why we're here. And I know that Dollar Bill has a fantastic proposal he's going to share with everyone. Probably going to hit the general outline first and then dive deep into the specifics. How's that sound for you guys?
Yeah, if you guys want to start with maybe a quick little intro and sort of just a brief history of Revest. I understand Resonate is sort of a subset or a project of Revest, but if you just want to start with a kind of a broad bit of a history and overview, and then yeah, we can dive deeper.
Do you want to speak to slides 3, 4, 5?
Hey, can we get Dollar Bill as part of the speakers?
He was just up here. Let's get him back up. Yeah, Dollar Bill, you should be able to jump up.
There he
is.
Welcome to the stage.
Come on now, Adam. Don't get stage fright.
Adam, we can't hear you at all right now.
Yeah, I can't hear a word you're saying. Okay, so I'm just going to throw this out there. There's a 95% chance it's his AirPods. Because it always is. I used to have the entire Revest community complain about my AirPods whenever I do AMAs.
He's probably talking right now, giving us the presentation.
Yeah, no, he's probably giving the best presentation we've ever heard. We're never going to get it. I don't know about you guys. I got tired of hearing people complain about the sound quality. Went out, bought myself a Blue Yeti, and now I never have that problem.
Got the same.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's the one everyone goes for, unless you're like an actual podcaster, in which case you have a very generic but professional-looking black microphone and a shock stand.
Can you hear me now?
Hey,
We
now we can.
Oh, damn! I've been shouting for like the last 87 minutes, like a lunatic.
We figured that's what was going on. All right, well, glad we got that sorted.
All right, Adam, you want to start off with the primer on FNFTs? Then we'll tell them about what the problem is we're solving.
Well, absolutely.
Away.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that quite a few of you don't know what an FNFT is. Basically, it's just a financial non-fungible token, right? As a company, well, actually, you know what? Let me back up. You guys have heard me talk here more than once. And last time I talked, I didn't have all these fancy slides or visual aids with me. I was just talking like a lunatic, which is fair enough. But a financial NFT is just a financial non-fungible token, right? So basically, we can take any ERC20 position and well, actually anything on the EVM chain, and we can put it in an NFT. Okay, so as a company, our point of view is not to is that NFTs aren't all about art. They're, in my belief, soon the title of my car, the deed to my house will be an NFT, but among other things, they're financial instruments, right? So for those of you that are on Zoom right now, Rob, if you could pull up the
I already have.
Oh, look at you, dude.
You aren't looking at Zoom. We're on. Okay, so you know that deck I sent over this morning, the Resonate V12 partner.
Yeah, dude, I'm just gonna keep talking. You just make it up as you go along. You're good.
Oh dear Jesus.
So this is our NFT, right? On the front, you see that there's this is a liquid driver, all right? This is a curved fork that is on Phantom, okay? And this is their VE position. So in this specific situation, we took an illiquid position and made it semi-liquid, okay? So a lot of centralized finance happens between the interface of liquid and illiquid, and that doesn't really happen in DeFi right now. So what we enabled Liquid Driver to do is take this illiquid VE position, and their community can now trade it on a secondary market like OpenSea or LooksRare, or Luxy, PaintSwap, right? Which is awesome for them. Now I know of everybody in the audience. It looks like there's 15 or 20 of you. I'm sure at least one of you is a gamer. Okay, so you guys understand what a game engine is, but for all the others, I'm positive you've heard of PlayStation, right? I got a PlayStation 5 sitting in my living room. There's absolutely nothing I can do with it, right? You guys might say, well, but Adam, you could watch Netflix on there, right? But I could also do that on my TV, so that box is worthless, right? But if I buy a game, I can actually do something with that system, okay? That's what Revest is. Revest is that box in my living room, and Resonate is, the game. Right? I was about to say Halo. Don't punch me in the head. It's just my favorite game in the world, but that's Xbox, so.
Halo 3 is objectively the greatest game in the world. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree, but I use PlayStation, not Xbox, so we'll crucify me later, okay? But that's basically what Resonate is, right? So does anybody have any questions on FNFTs currently? Anyone at all? Raise your hand.
Could you guys just briefly elucidate your choice of 1155s over 721s? Was it mainly for the batch functionality? For those of you in the audience who aren't familiar, 1155s are a similar to 721 standard that I think Engine created a few years ago that have some interesting attributes that are arguably better than 721's. But curious to get your guys' logic
to-
behind that
Yeah,
choice.
Kent, that's a great question,
Adam,
and I'm gonna
Adam,
let Rob talk to you about 4626.
So we chose 4626 because it allows for the creation of multiple identical NFTs within the same ID series. So let's say you're locking up 100 tokens, right? And you want to give you want to lock them for a year, so they're all locked up for a year. And you want to be able to give them out to different people, packets almost. So you could have a packet of 10 tokens, and that would mean that you had 10 different packets. Now you could have 10 different NFT IDs, and that would cost 10 times the amount of gas. Or you could use the ERC-1155 to mint 10 identical packets, each locked for a year, each worth 10 tokens, and distribute those packets amongst your friends however you wanted. It saves a ton of gas on the minting cost, and it allows for effectively fungibility within a non-fungible system. The analogy I love to use is that every piece of Microsoft stock is identical, but every piece of Microsoft stock isn't the same as every piece of Tesla stock. Those two, they're different. So fungibility within a non-fungible series.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
That answer your question, good buddy?
It sure does. Thank you.
All right, good. Anybody else have a question about FNFTs before I move on to the halo of PlayStation? I thought that was a pretty good joke. I thought I'd get at least one laugh, but
You're getting
all
at
right.
least one
So,
slide.
I was laughing,
So-
but I'm muted. So sorry.
I was laughing as well, but I was muted. I like
okay, fine. No, you guys are good. I knew at least one person laughed. All right. So now, if you guys are on Zoom, you're looking at a very complicated flow chart. And you know what? I apologize for that, but we'll work through it together. Hey, Kent or Wiley, would one of you guys do me a solid and be my co-partner in this situation?
Sure.
Wiley,
No,
baby,
right
thanks
up
for
for it.
stepping up, dog.
Let's do it. Yeah, you
All
bet.
right, Wiley, I'm gonna give you a pop quiz right now, dude. I don't want to insult your intelligence. It's gonna be oversimplified, but it is what it is. It's the best way to kind of start from the bottom foundation and explain what we have going on. Okay, so
Sure.
let's say you have 100 tokens. Okay, and you find a yield farm that will give you a 50% ROI over the next 6 months. Okay.
Okay.
100 tokens, 50% next 6 months. So you lock your 100 tokens up for the next 6 months. In total, how many tokens will you have in 6 months?
150 tokens.
Dude, yeah, spot on. Everybody here is like probably rolling their eyes, but so many people get that wrong. It's not even funny. I take 7 calls a day, 6 months, whatever. But at any rate, and I have 30 tokens, Wiley. I do the same thing you do. How many tokens do I have?
45 tokens after 6 months.
On point. So let's say you're a smart dude, which you are, way smarter than I am, and you understand the time value of money, right? Just like anybody that wins the lotto, any financial advisor will tell you, take the lump sum instead of annuity, right? Because you can do more with your money now than later. Okay, so you would rather an upfront payment than have to wait 6 months for those 50 tokens, right? Not because you don't like the token, right? You want a long on that token. You like it. You just don't know what the market's gonna do. Okay, so you go to the Resonate app, right? And you separate the principal from interest, which is what Resonate allows us to do. Separate principal from interest, right? And you sell the rights of your interest of 50 tokens to me for 30 tokens. Okay? So the net effect of that is you have 100 tokens that are in an FNFT, right? And you could sell them on a secondary market if you wanted to. And you also have 30 liquid tokens. Okay. And then I have 0 liquid tokens, but I have the right to 50 tokens in 6 months. Right? So that's 11% more tokens than I would have had if I just staked them as myself. Okay?
Got
So now at this point, everybody here is going, well, Adam, like at the beginning, you said this was going to be about treasury management. What does this have to do with treasury management? Well, PT Cruiser, thanks for asking, bud. I'll let you know. Let's say, Wiley, you are a treasury, right? The risks that we have right now, right? You still have the 100 tokens, all right? The risks you're taking are minimal, right? You have your long, you've hedged it. You have 30 liquid tokens. Now the risks I have are opportunity cost because I can't spend my tokens right now, and I have interest rate fluctuation. Right? So at this point, who would take that position? Right? That would be a protocol treasury. That's someone who can't use their tokens anyways, right? Pretty sure I glossed over this at the beginning, but protocol can't deploy their tokens for anything. If they deploy it to a yield farm, they dilute the percentage rate, and the entire community is in an uproar. And I know for a fact ShapeShift has, last I checked, $16 million in native tokens in their treasury. And anytime you go to an AMA, you guys only talk about 5 million. Right? That'd be your 5 million stable coins. Damn shame, because you guys have a shit ton of money that you're not using. Don't even talk about it because like the redheaded stepchild in the corner. All right. Now let's switch positions. Wiley, you have 30 tokens, and you bribe me, or you incentivize me 30 tokens to enter into a yield farm on your behalf. Let's say it's your own yield farm. It's your own staking system. Right? That way, now I gave 100 tokens into the staking system, and you have now you gave me 30 tokens, and you have the rights to the interest of the remaining 50 tokens. Okay? Following so far?
We're tracking.
Absolutely. So that means what happens with the protocol is you've reduced your emissions, at least on me, by 40%. Okay?
Right.
So the net effect would be whatever your emissions are yearly, and last I checked, you guys had about a 33% single staking side pool, correct?
Foxy, I think, was around 20% when we first launched it, but the yield has come down quite a bit. It's now like 2 to 3% yield.
Yeah, but you guys also have a pool on Pokemac, correct?
Yeah, and that is that tokamak pool. So the tokamak yield itself has come down significantly since we first launched Foxy, since we last spoke.
Yeah, no. And that's going to happen, right? Because infinite emissions can't last forever. Right? But, the yield on, like, for example, like tokamak, right? We could get an upfront payment of that over a month, and we would eventually get sticky liquidity in that liquidity pool for the DAO.
In that situation, the tokamak pool itself rewards toke rewards, right? So if we were to do a Revest Resonate solution for the tokamak pool, would the DAO basically have to pay toke rewards upfront and then get the right to the future toke yield?
No, absolutely not, man. You could pay if you want to. That's the beauty, and that's what's called a synthetic swap, right? Rob, if you could pull up the synthetic or the chart I'm talking about. So when we first started, we were in the upper left-hand side of this chart with emissions reductions, right? And when I first talked to you guys, we were in such our infancy, it was ridiculous. Right? Now we are at least toddlers, okay?
Cool.
but Rob's gonna kill me for saying that. But
You got to
now,
crawl before
like,
you run, right? Yeah.
well, sometimes you got to walk before you can crawl. Who knows? But you have the ability now. You can take your own tokens, right? And like I said at the beginning or partway through or whenever I said it, like, God forbid we even think, or like if we think about selling our native tokens, right? Our community is going to lose their gourd. Okay, if we whisper about selling our native tokens in a spot sale, right? The world will literally end for our protocol, because everybody's gonna like freak out, and that's a DeFi specific problem. In centralized finance, like Tesla's like, hey, we need some operating funds. We're gonna sell off some stock so we can get some, operating capital. Everyone's like, yeah, okay, cool, dude, whatever. Like, dude, I don't even know why you told us. In DeFi, though, that's a serious problem, right?
Right. Yep.
And
Agreed.
so, what you can do is, in this situation, you can bribe your own community members, or eventually, what I believe, what Rob believes, what Maddie believes, what our entire team believes, is that there will be other people that will come to our app that won't be a part of your community at this point, but they will be, right? Once they use our app, okay? And
Right.
you'll be able to, like Tokamak, for example. They have a pool that they are going to, they're setting up a reactor specifically for Ethereum. And the Ethereum reactor will pay out in Ethereum. And they're going to incentivize people with Toke to enter that Ethereum reactor, and it will pay them in Ethereum.
It will pay
they're
tokamak in Ethereum.
Yeah, they're paying out Tokamak to get, or Toke. I'm sorry, they're paying out Toke to get Ethereum at a reduced rate
Very cool.
over time, right? So they can diversify their treasury, because they want to bulk up their Ethereum assets. Because, I mean, honestly, who isn't bullish on Ethereum, right?
Right.
So you can use it for that.
Okay, cool.
I
So-
also happen to know you guys have about $5 million, if I am incorrect, in stable coins. Is that correct?
Yeah, closer to 4 million now, but yes.
4 million now. Well, yeah, it's fair market fucked us all, right?
Yeah. Holding on to as many as we can.
But yeah, you got 4 million in stable coins, right? So for example, Rob, if you want to smack up that let's go with that abracadabra slide. That'd be best. Abracadabra, for example, right? They have a pool that's currently paying out at 6.8%. It's a MIM 3 CRV pool on Curve. Okay?
Cool.
And what they're going to do is, it's currently paying out at 6.8%. The current time value of money would be, I don't know, I'm doing mental math right now. I think 6.2%, right? So if they pay out 5%, they believe that in the next year they will acquire enough Curve votes, or 11 or 12%, I forget. The net effect would be, if we're being conservative, they get an average 7.5% return over the next year.
That's very cool.
Okay.
So the amount you're actually getting, you're buying these tokens at a discount. Basically, there's like the tokamak example. They're spending less toke to get the ETH. They get the ETH later. So that discount is for the time value of money, but it is pretty cool compared to a lot of other treasury diversification strategies where typically you're selling your tokens, at a discount. So that is pretty cool. And I do like, I
Yeah.
remember last time we talked, it was mainly about reducing emissions. And I still see that as a valid use case, basically, for a way for the DAO to replenish some of the Fox that it's using as rewards, while also getting stakers to lock their stakes up. But it is very cool that we could do it for even other pools that aren't rewarded in Fox, and basically keep the reward tokens over time and pay upfront in Fox, that yield. I think that's pretty cool. And actually, it does make, I think, Resonate even more compelling for us. We've got all these yieldies launching soon too. So we will have our own protocol for users to deposit single-sided assets, including ETH, USDC, other DAO's governance tokens. Those contracts are have just completed their audit stage, and so that will be going live over the coming months in our app. And I could totally see basically a way for users to stake assets and get Fox upfront, and then for the DAO to actually be able to retain that yield.
Yeah, and like I was saying with Abracadabra, right? They're planning on deploying $250,000 in MIM, right? And they're going to pay out at 5%. So the net effect of that is they're going to get $5 million in sticky liquidity, right? That is mercenary liquidity, or just community liquidity. Basically, liquidity in that pool that can't be removed, okay? And then they'll also, because they're paying out 5% and they're getting back 7.5% on average, maybe more, right? They're going to get a 50% return on stable coins.
Very cool. And just one thing to note for the community, it's not risk free. And I think the big risk here is that variable yield, basically. Like the DAO would be paying upfront and taking on the risk of that yield actually decreasing. So there is risk to consider there.
That's a great question, right? If you're worried about the yield, the change in yield for the DAO, right? You could always, instead of, up till now, we've been talking about a fixed term solution, right? We also have a fixed return. Thanks, Rob. I forgot. I drink too much whiskey sometimes to forget these terms, we got a fixed return where what you could do is go, hey, Adam, right? Wiley, now you're the DAO. You give me 30 tokens, right? I lock up my 100, but I can only unlock that 100 when you get your 50 tokens in return back. So that could take 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, who knows? Right? But ultimately, the DAO will receive their desired return back. Follow?
I didn't quite follow that. Can you explain that again?
Okay, so remember my initial example. And I said, you'll give me 30 tokens. I will put my 100 tokens in an FNFT, and I will keep it there for 6 months.
Yes.
Okay, so if that interest rate changes, if it goes higher, if it goes up to 70%, that means you get 70 tokens back. If
Right.
it goes to 20%, you only get 20 tokens back.
Right.
So that's a fixed term option, right? A fixed return option would be if you gave me 30 tokens,
Okay.
and I locked up my
I get it.
100. Yep, and you don't get those back, and I don't get to unlock those until you get 50 tokens back. Now,
Okay.
if that happens in 3 weeks or 3 months, awesome, I win. If it takes 3 years, then that's how long it takes. Ultimately, the DAO just wants their money back.
Okay, so the DAO doesn't necessarily have to take on that variable yield risk. It instead can impose that on the purchaser. That does seem a little risky to me, though. Like, what happens in a situation where the yield the yield goes down substantially, and the program for the yield farm, let's say, is only set to run for 6 months, and then it stops. Are users' tokens locked for forever?
You don't have to have a year-long requirement for a lock. You don't even have to have a 6-month or a 3-month or a 1 month. You could have a 2-day lock or a 1 week. Right? We're talking with multiple protocols right now. The least I've seen a protocol say they wanted to lock up tokens for was 3 days. And the most I've seen was 24 months.
Cool.
So,
and I understand this is just an optional feature. We could also just stick with the fixed term and take on that yield risk ourselves. But I am curious, just for the fixed return approach, what does happen if the return is never reached, basically because the yield goes down or the yield farm ends?
well,
Are those
ultimately,
tokens
I guess
stuck forever?
if the yield farm just ends, those tokens are locked and you never receive payment, and that's it. Right? Those tokens aren't permanently locked. They can be sold on a secondary market. Right? They'll probably have to be sold at an extreme discount, to be
If you have
completely
a farm
honest.
that can just stop producing yield, I think there's probably a more serious problem.
Yeah,
No,
that also.
not necessarily. Like, I'm thinking of a lot of programs that we have right now with the Fox ETH pool are only set to run over a certain period. So it's not uncommon for yield farms to have, a predefined term.
Oh no,
In that
no,
case,
you're
you
talking
probably
about.
would never be
You're
able to
talking
convince
about.
people to get into them.
Hey Rob, you're talking about your like your governance saying, hey, we only want to do this until October 18th, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a situation like that with fixed return, or even a situation, there are times, I think, when vaults basically get sunset and they get replaced with a newer vault on a protocol. So just wondering.
No.
Yeah.
And I've looked at that, right? I looked at your guys' governance proposals. It ends on what, October 18th or October 28th? Is your most recent governance?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but yeah, let's go with, just say it's October 28th for the example.
Yeah, October 28th, right? So in that situation, you guys aren't going to offer a year lock on that, right? Because ultimately
Right.
you'd end up paying out way too much because you're only paying out tokens for the next 2 months by the time we release. Because
The way that I
no,
like
I'm sorry, it's November 28th that you guys are locked.
Yeah, I thought it was later. Okay.
So I'm gonna jump in here.
November. It's
Adam,
November.
I'm gonna jump in. Basically, setting up a system like that is possible, but it's the same thing like with Uniswap, right? You need to be careful what pools you buy into, because you might get rugged. Just like that, this is a system where you need to be damn sure that you trust that the farm that you're entering is going to exist. And if it looks like there are conditions that might cause it to not exist, you as a token holder shouldn't be using it.
And I think that's what I'm getting at, is just the fixed return, I guess, has some other risks for the actual token holder.
It does, and it's one of those things where people have to exercise their judgment. Just like, buying Snoop Doge weed token. Which
I'm sorry, is Snoop Doge weed an actual token?
I lost $100 on that.
Why didn't you tell me? I would have bought more than $100.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys for explaining this. I think we do have like a good understanding of like the risks that are there for both fixed return and fixed term, and it's good to have that understanding so we can inform kind of how we would want to design each of these potential resonate pools.
Yeah, absolutely. What I would like to know right now is what questions does anybody have? Because I tell you, when I say I do this 7 times a day for the last 6 months, I'm not lying. So, and every time I'm in a call,
if we're talking risks, I have some more questions along those lines. I see there may be an upcoming slide that speaks to that, but I'd like to talk about the sort of technical and smart contract risk. Question A, I think I remember seeing in your docs that you guys are employing counterfactual smart vaults. Is that for a different region product, or is that for Resonate as well?
So that is we use those for Revest, and we use We use a smart wallet form for Resonate, yeah.
Okay, so can you walk everybody through how this differs from a typical smart contract type setup? Counterfactual wallets and that sort of thing has been. I remember seeing a lot about that in the sort of early days of layer twos. I think Loopring employs a counterfactual, but
I do.
you don't see a ton of that in production. If you could just walk us through how that works.
So with Resonate, it's a system that's far more akin to, it's not counterfactual for Resonate. Resonate is just a create to system. It works in the same way that Uniswap does, where when we need a new pool, we deploy a new contract, and that becomes the contract that handles that pool and the assets in it. So by sandboxing the assets into these different contracts, we make it a lot harder for any one contract's failure to be basically the whole point there is security by just multiplication, I guess. Security by the number of different contracts that you'd have to hit. So that is an additional layer of security over using a central contract that you deposit everything into, and if that contract gets hit, everything's gone. Much safer this way. So counterfactuals in the context of Revest are actually an incredible technology from a security standpoint. I wish we could have used them for Resonate. Unfortunately, Resonate's contracts have to be more active, so they can't be counterfactual. But the way that it works for Revest is that we can use the create2 opcode to predict where a contract will, when given a unique salt, such as the FNFT's ID, deploy a contract in the future. This is basically the equivalent of all of the math that predicts what an address will be from a created contract is static math. So it's deterministic, and I can know before I've deployed a contract somewhere that, using FNFT ID 5 will give me this address. So what I can do is I can take the tokens and I can send them from the user to that address. There's no contract at that address. It does not exist. And we are storing those tokens. And those tokens have effectively been burnt right up until we want to withdraw, at which point the user burns the FNFT, and the FNFT's ID that's being burnt is then used to recreate, it's used to deploy a contract at that address, withdraw the tokens at that address to the user, and then call self-destruct on the contract, which means that there's no contract left at that address if there are still tokens inside of it. It's an incredibly secure way to store tokens, and we are at the forefront of DeFi at that time.
Great, thanks for the.
We have passed both audits. Those are two of the industry leaders. You can look up who they've audited. You will know who they've audited. They are they back up some big boys like Layer Zero, Sushi Swap, 1inch. They're all there. So we go with the top quality firms. In the future, we are planning to have, we're launching a bug bounty internally with a group of white hats we're friends with. White hat hackers, for those of you who don't know what the term is. These are hackers who work for good and go out, try to break contracts to earn bug bounties rather than to steal things. So we are doing that before we launch with this group, and we're going to be offering them money to try to break our system. That starts Monday, and we are also implementing fuzzing with those guys. They're a security firm out of Georgia Tech, and we get to be their guinea pigs on a next generation business logic level fuzzing system, which means that we get the special attention of developers who've won DevCon. If you don't know what DevCon is, winning DevCon is a big deal in the dev community. So we probably will want to have even more audits done post-launch. I would think someone along the lines of QuantStamp or Trail of Bits. For now, I am more than satisfied with our two audits. They both found different and also similar things, and we've covered the full gamut. So
Cool. Yeah, we had a sort of crowdsourced approach for part of our audits on Yieldy, which is a sort of more generalized version of Foxy that Willie was discussing earlier, and it worked pretty well. We had some centralized, or I should say some more just typical audits from organizations, but the crowdsourcing actually turned out to reveal more issues, which was Pretty cool. In terms of the Revest token, can you guys speak a little bit to how that works? Is that being used to incentivize use of your product?
So the Revest token is, well, the Revest token will benefit from this. It's staked and it receives a portion, in fact, it receives all of the revenue generated by the Revest protocol. And the Revest protocol will be receiving around 15-20% of the revenue generated by Resonate. However, Resonate is its own system. It is a separate protocol built on top of Revest. And so it will have its own token. That is a governance token. It has meta governance plays around it. And it also has the rights to bribes. That's the real play there is bribes. Entitles you to discounts, very similar to Rari Cap if you're familiar. But that's not the Resonate token is not out, and it's not coming out until probably 2023, at least.
Cool. Thanks for clarifying that.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So I just want to ask some more questions, I guess, to get a better understanding of like whether this is something we should prioritize, because it definitely sounds interesting. But we've got a lot of stuff going on and limited resources, and I'm really curious to like better understand what would the DAO actually need to do to move forward with this, and kind of why do you guys think we should move forward with this now, especially when the protocol is not launched, like new and innovative.
Right? You guys, sorry, Tokamak. I keep mispronouncing that like a big dum-dum. But we have other launch partners like, I don't know if they're
Adam, don't give them
big
too much
names.
alpha.
I don't know if they're certainly big names. Maybe Cadabra.
That's not confirmed yet.
Idaho. But
So, guys, I'll just say this with respect to the actual launch partners. Welcome to propose anything into the forum. Potentially, maybe that moves to governance. Yeah, you guys have already taken part in that, some of those discussions and draft proposals, and appreciate that. But in terms of launch partners, so it's the position of the tokenomics workstream, and something I think that the DAO generally embodies is that we steer clear of any sort of brand new launch, new to production DApp. And the reason is we prefer to see, and we just, what Willie was just alluding to, we prefer to see evidence of the Lindy effect. Projects have a relatively much higher risk in the initial months or so. So like, generally there's not like a set rule of thumb here, but like generally, 3 to 6 months of like a good track record of success. Again, nobody has carte blanche over determining this, but it's generally the position of I would say, people that work in tokenomics here and that sort of like, dig into this stuff, that's the preference. It would be unlikely, I think, for the DAO to be a quote launch partner for that reason. Not saying that it couldn't be a fit after some of that Lindy effect is achieved, but I think moving forward as a launch partner probably would be premature.
To Kent's point, we have had a protocol that proposed ShapeShift being a launch partner in the past, and that did get approved, but we never actually ended up utilizing the protocol. And pretty soon after the protocol launched, they did end up sunsetting their actual protocol. So I think that's just a good example to look at, and I think just more lessons learned for why we really, unless there's a very compelling reason for us to agree to be a launch partner, then kind of our default position is just to wait. And again, I kind of mentioned that this is currently, definitely, like I said, it seems like an interesting protocol. It gets especially interesting as we have things like yieldies live, and as and hopefully the yield for Tokamak comes back up, becomes, I think, even more interesting. It's a lot less interesting when the yield on Foxy right now is like 2 to 3%. But yeah, just wanted to be clear with that, had expectations, and also give you guys the opportunity, if there are any compelling reasons for us to consider being launch partners, and kind of bending that rule.
I can give you a few, namely the amount of time that we can dedicate to working with you guys right now is going to be likely higher than what I anticipate we will be able to just put out there in the future. I'm looking already at a lot of post-launch partners who have a very big presence in the hottest spaces in crypto right now. And I'm going to have to prioritize those. It's going to take a while for me to be able to circle back. So we do this now, that works fantastic. We can give you guys the attention you need to get Tokamak's adapter up and running. I know Tracer DAO has built an adapter for it. It should be pretty easy to plug in. But just in terms of the amount of work that I expect myself, my team to be doing over the next 3 to 6 months, I don't know how busy we're going to be, and I anticipate us being extremely, extremely busy once this thing begins to get in the air. So,
Do you guys have some plans for scaling the organization, assuming you do meet with early success?
yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, I have a biz dev department of. Well, it started off with myself when I first talked to you gentlemen. Now there are 6 people working for me. They are running around all over the crypto sphere, finding every Tom, Dick, and Harry that has a treasury that wants management done, and we're taking meetings with them. We've had meetings with probably, what would you say, Rob, Matt, over 100 protocols? Probably fair to say.
We're just over 100 now.
Yeah, just over 100. Yeah, I mean, we're not only going to scale, but we're going to scale very, very, very quickly.
Okay, so it does seem like a bit of mixed messages there, and I kind of agree with Kent. Like, I would hope that if you guys do see success that we hope you'll see when you launch, that you'd be able to scale to meet the demand. So it does sound like, I mean, I understand that you guys might have some more availability right now, but personally, I don't consider that a compelling enough reason for us to prioritize this now, on top of all the other stuff that we have going on. And yeah, so that's just my opinion. Like Ken said, like, you guys are welcome to propose something. I know last time you guys had put the proposal up, there was some similar feedback that it just seemed, one, like we would like more clarity on what it would actually look like to go live with Resonate. I do think it is compelling that there wouldn't be development effort, from what I understand, required from ShapeShift DAO, that Revest would handle a lot of that. I also think it's very compelling that you guys would be driving users to your own interface where they'd be able to access our Resonate pools. I definitely think those things are compelling, but there's a lot of compelling stuff going on, and we just need to make sure that we're being strategic and prioritizing the most impactful things, and also making sure that we don't end up in a situation where we are too early to a new innovative and experimental protocol that has been audited but has not yet been battle tested in prod.
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely. You know what? And I totally understand that. If I was to say that you guys were the first protocol to say, hey, you know what? We don't want to be the first one through the wall. Let other people take those scars, and we'll come back next time. You know what? I'd be lying to you. You guys aren't the first people to say that, and you know what? You're not going to be the last. But quite frankly, the first people through the wall are going to be the ones that make the most money with this. So, what I can do is I can put together the proposal that we have. I can, the revised proposal. I can put that up on your wall, and you know, if you guys think it's something sexy enough to jump on, do it. If not, no hard feelings. We'll circle back around in 2 or 3 months and have another AMA. Sound good, boys? And
Yeah, just to speak a little bit more to the risk thing, you know, in this environment, we're quite risk averse, you know, just given the limited state of everybody's treasury and ours as well. And we've been attempting to be, you know, very conservative stewards of the DAO's treasury. And I think we're doing a good job of that. But, you know, the risks are always top of mind. You know, a great example is Rari. We have some loans out on Rari Fuse, and, you know, they've served their purpose, and we're paying down debt now. But, of course, there was the Rari hack a few months ago. And this is something that arguably had a lot of Lindy effect going on. It was, I think most people were surprised when it was hacked. luckily, ShapeShift was not directly impacted by that particular exploit. But yeah, I mean, not being one of the first ones through the door, that's, you know, whatever gains might be gotten from that, I think would be outweighed by potential losses. We're talking about potentially a lot of digital value in these contracts. So my advice to you guys, and again, I want to couch this in just appreciation for you guys taking the time. You've spent a lot of time on connecting with the community and on putting these proposals together. And I think I speak on behalf of everybody listening. Like, I really appreciate that. A lot of projects just kind of come in and try to YOLO it, but you guys have taken the time. But again, I think that just moving forward as a launch partner is probably based on the community, probably a non-starter. But what you described, Dollar Bill, in terms of, you know, yeah, potentially coming back in 3 to 6 months, especially this would be a sort of warm reintro.
2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months.
You guys are not going to want to wait 6 months. But hey, continue.
I mean, one thing I'm very mindful of avoiding is FOMO. I really personally hate FOMO in a DeFi environment. I've seen a lot of that, and this idea of like, oh my God, we're going to miss out on gains. And then, you know, what do you know, a couple months later, you get rugged. And I'm not saying you guys are something like that, but I always caution, just as a leader of the tokenomics workstream, I caution people not to get FOMO. There's a lot of that around. So, you know, we take a more deliberate approach, and we're fine with missing out on, you know, potential gains or benefits for a few more months in order to, you know, enjoy some or see some risk mitigation. So, you know, something like, you know, if 3 months has elapsed, two would probably be, you know, a little premature. Again, you guys are welcome to do whatever you want. This is an open DAO, but those are kind of some guiding thoughts right there.
Hey, man, fair enough. I appreciate everybody here's time. And you know what? If I don't see you in 15 days, I'll see you in 60.